Hi, and welcome to Vote 2014. I'm Sandy Jacobson. On today's program, we will be covering Ballot Measure LC. We'll be talking with two designated proponents and two designated opponent speakers. After I give a brief summary of the ballot measure, each side will make an opening statement. We'll then have a discussion about the ballot measure, with each side having an equal opportunity to present their viewpoints. At the conclusion of our discussion, each side will make a closing statement. With me today as Measure LC proponents are John Fairweather and Kathy Larson. Welcome, John and Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our Ballot Measure LC opponents are John Jarabek and Christian Fry. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Measure LC is an amendment to the Santa Monica City Charter that was placed on the ballot by the Santa Monica City Council. Its provisions include the following. 1, a statement that the City Council has the authority to regulate the use of the Santa Monica Airport, manage airport leaseholds, condition leases, and permanently close all part of the airport to aviation use. And 2, a restriction on new development if all or part of the airport land is permanently closed to aviation use. Measure LC states that if all or part of the airport land is permanently closed to aviation use, new development would not be allowed until the voters have approved limits on the uses and development that may occur on the land. It also specifically provides that the development of parks, public open spaces, and public recreational facilities, and the maintenance and replacement of existing cultural, arts, and education uses do not require voter approval. They are within the decision-making authority of the City Council. It also includes a provision that states its express intent to prevail over and nullify all provisions of any other charter amendment placed on the same ballot that relates to the subject of the Santa Monica Airport. It's a long explanation. And so we are going to start with Kathy. You're going to explain why you're supporting Proposition LC.
Measure LC clearly states no new development of land shall be allowed without voter approval except for parks, public open spaces, and recreational facilities. That says it all. At a time when Santa Monica is starving for playing fields for our children and open space for recreation, a unique opportunity is on the horizon. Yes on LC means 227 acres of airport property, the last open space available in Santa Monica, can become the jewel of the West Side, available for all to use, not just for recreational pilots and corporate jets. LC has the endorsement of the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica, the Sierra Club, Residocracy, Santa Monica Malibu Council of PTAs, Santa Monica Democratic Club, SMER, Green Party of LA County, Friends of Sunset Park, Pico Neighborhood Association, Airport to Park.
Thank you. I must explain that though this program is represented by the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica, we are the education fund, and we do not take positions. That's the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica. It's a different division. All right, and Christian, you're going to open for us.
Thank you. So what's in front of voters on November 4th, I think it's very simple. It's whether or not voter approval is required before the city can close and redevelop the 227 acres of low-density airport land. Measure D clearly requires voter approval, and Measure LC allows closure and redevelopment without voter approval. Although that language is a little buried in the ballot, you can find it. LC contains 3 magic words: without voter approval. It ensures the key decisions regarding the redevelopment of the airport stays in the hands of 7 politicians. They've carved out 6 specific areas of redevelopment that can begin without voter approval. All of these things I have big concern for, I think, all Santa Monicans. We want the voters to decide. This is a unique and golden opportunity for the voters of Santa Monica to take total control over the future of the Santa Monica Airport and its 227 beautiful acres.
Thank you, Christian. Let's start with, tell us your story. Why was LC placed on the ballot?
Measure LC was placed on the ballot by the council in response to the community requests to do something to prevent Measure D, which has some very unfortunate consequences. And so it was placed there in response to Measure D. And what it does is it guarantees the community's right to prevent any development on that land. Unlike Measure D, which doesn't even mention development, it's purely about maintaining aviation status quo.
And I might add that Mr. Fry is taking without voter approval out of context, because it says no new development of land shall be allowed without voter approval.
Except
Except
the
parks.
6 types that you
Oh, parks,
mentioned.
yes, we
Yes.
agree on that.
Yes, we do.
Parks, public spaces, recreational facilities.
Recreational
And-
facilities.
And the maintenance and replacement of existing cultural and
existing,
education facilities, right?
of
So you could
existing.
totally redevelop the entirety of the educational, cultural, and arts side of the
No, it
airport.
says maintenance
37
of
acres of
existing.
land.
That's each person speak.
37 acres of land could be redeveloped without any voter approval.
Not true.
And
That's
I think
not
it's
what it
important
says.
to note that you mentioned there's a big difference here between our 2 initiatives. 15,500 people in Santa Monica signed that they want to have their vote heard. They have no signatures. This is a response to our ballot initiative.
And
All right,
we
and
have
hold on,
evidence
let me just interject for the viewers who are only seeing this ballot measure discussion for the first time, that the other ballot measure that you are referring to is Measure D. So that's the other measure that we're going to be referring to throughout the program, I assume. Please, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
the signature gatherers, we have multiple instances of people reporting the signature gatherers lying to collect their signatures, including one who approached me who said, sign here if you want to close the airport.
I think that's a really absurd statement, and the reality is
It's not absurd
we
because
have-
it
what the
happened to
voters
me.
are here to decide
Affidavits.
is
They-
who makes this choice, 7 politicians or the voters of Santa Monica. And we believe it's a very simple thing.
And how much money has your side spent on opposing our?
I think this is a great point. You're bringing up who supports Measure D. Measure D is supported by pilots. And pilots, their motivation is super clear. They want to keep our municipal airport. They believe our 97-year-old airport has value, as do we.
And Measure LC is supported by the local community, 99% from local community. Our average donation is $270. We have $81,000 roughly. You have well over $500,000. Your average donation is $10,000. And it comes from large lobbyist organizations and corporations. And if we're going to talk about development donations, which you seem to want to do, I notice you've received 2 $10,000 developer donations in the last couple of weeks.
Who are pilots who
ours-
want to see our airport continue.
And the point is
We
that
have received a total of 12% of our donations is from that single developer donation.
and you're referring to Jeff Worth, who made the
I've never
largest
met Jeff Worth.
the largest donation to your
12%.
organization, and then a few days later was awarded the Bergamot project. So it's perhaps
I'd like to think I was that powerful, but unfortunately I'm not. I'm not on the.
This is just about motives. Our motives are clear. Pilots care about the airport. Developers have pretty clear motives too. They
right,
want to see the
so-
airport close.
All right, so let me bring up another element of closing the airport. A lot of people feel that the airport should be kept open in case of disaster. What is your response on both sides to that issue? Let me hear from you first.
What
Well,
about-
the first thing to note is that the last disaster, the airport was closed
Patently
for
untrue.
4 days. No, it was
Patently
closed
untrue.
because the runway wasn't safe. So
What are you calling the last disaster, the
the-
94 earthquake?
yeah, the
Okay.
earthquake. The city has 2 of the busiest freeways in the country going through it. It has ocean access. And helicopters are what you use for emergencies, and there's plenty of places for helicopters to land. So really, that is one of many false claims that are put forward by the other
I
side.
think you also have to keep that in perspective about the safety issues that the neighbors have to put up with on a daily basis. You have an airport that has no safety zones, you have homes that are within 300 feet, and that is not a once-in-a-generation disaster. That is something that happens every day, 24/7. homes right near the runway, no safety areas. People on the east side, they bear the brunt of emissions from the jet aircraft on a daily basis, fine particulate matter, other emissions, general aviation fuel with lead in it. So you're talking about a disaster that may happen, and when you have to weigh that against what people put up with every single day.
All right, so it's true that the neighborhoods around the airport are very concerned about potential hazards.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the airport is in compliance with every environmental and safety regulation to which it's subject. And the truth of the matter is the pollution and noise impacts pale in comparison to just the 405 or the 10 freeway. But what we're really here to debate is ultimately who decides whether we close and redevelop the airport land, voters or politicians. We can talk all day about these topics. They're important topics and topics we should address in the replacement of the 1984 agreement. But voters need to decide who makes this decision.
Well,
when it comes to development, it says in the language of LC, no new development of land shall be allowed without voter approval.
And Measure D does not even mention development because basically they don't care what
Let
happens.
me bring up a point,
True.
that the ultimate decider, I would think, I think many people think, is the FAA. Doesn't the FAA have a role in saying we want that airport open, or we don't care anymore?
They certainly do.
The FAA has publicly stated that after July 1st, 2015, what happens to the airport is a local land use matter.
That is
Obviously from your laugh, I
that is
can
a
tell you.
misstatement, absolutely. The FAA has made very clear through multiple pieces of litigation over the last 30 years that they believe the airport should stay open, that they deeded it back to the city after the 1948 Instrument of Transfer was signed as a 5,000-foot airport forever. So the reality is, according to our city attorney, the airport...
What do you mean a 5,000-foot airport?
Well, they gave us a 5,000-foot runway. The 5,000-foot runway is going to be maintained in perpetuity. So our city attorney, if you look up any of these topics on the city's website, you can educate yourself very clearly. The city attorney said anyone that believes the airport is actually able to be closed is being naive. The FAA will fight tooth and nail. But the beauty of D is it puts this decision in the hands of voters. It allows voters' voice to be heard and say, we care about our municipal
If you really
airport.
think that the airport can't be closed, then why did you even bother with this?
Yeah, why are
Well,
you
no,
spending
we're
all
on
this
the
Yeah, why are
ballot
you
because-
spending all this money if you didn't think the
because-
airport could be closed in the first place?
Sure. The Airport Commission, at the behest of the City Council, is proposing that the aviation businesses and aviation services be starved and closed off the airport, and we think that's wrong.
And we trust the voters. We believe the voters are going to agree with us and believe in the value of our airport.
Let me ask one question that I'm not clear on. What if both measures receive a very equal?
The one with the majority,
Yeah, that's
one with the most
high
majority,
Majority
so one
votes,
vote,
yeah.
one vote could make the difference.
right.
the one with the most votes prevails.
Okay, so we've heard from, this is from many community members, that there's confusion about what LC would actually do. What would you say to the voters to help them understand what they're voting on?
I would say that general aviation is in decline. 200 general aviation airports a year close in this country. So one day it's going to be Santa Monica Airport's turn. We don't know when that day will be, but it's coming. On that day, Measure LC, if it's in place, will guarantee that that land can't be developed. That land was bought in 1920s by our grandparents with a parks bond. It was meant to be a park. It's worth over $2 billion now. The pressure to develop that land will be absolutely immense. So, without Measure D in place, without Measure LC in place, it will, there's serious risk. With it there, it can't happen. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the people of Santa Monica to ensure their future quality of life. And Measure LC, voting yes on LC and no on D, is the only way to achieve that.
So what do you say?
We say that Measure LC, it stands for lose control. I mean, literally, if you go to the smvote.org website, the city clerk's website, and you read Measure LC, and you get to section 1 where it says specifically what's going to be added to the city charter, it says specifically, subject only to limitation imposed by law, the city council shall have full authority without voter approval.
To manage the airport. like
Which it
does
already
today.
has.
It already has that right.
that ability.
It's,
That's not
but you're
going
trying
anywhere.
to take that ability away.
We
That's
are.
why
It
it's in there.
Absolutely
It
not.
says, and permanently close all or part of the airport to aviation use.
That was language.
Voters don't get to decide on that.
This
that
is the
language
most
was put in there to counteract D. You are trying to take away their right to manage the airport.
Absolutely
which is
not
not.
true.
Absolutely
safe.
not.
Okay, I have an idea. I'm going to give you both an opportunity, without referencing the other side, to explain to the voters why they should vote for your measure, or in your case, not vote for it.
Oh.
But you can't reference, here's the thing, you can't reference the competition. No mention of Measure D. You can go first.
Do you want to go first?
It's not a closing statement, it's just, if you met somebody who was unclear on all of this, without referencing them, why would you say LC is the way to vote?
Because it prevents development at the airport except for parks, open spaces, and recreational facilities. So if the voters are fearing that there's going to be some monstrosity built there, it protects that from happening, because if the voters would have to approve of a development if there was one proposed.
Okay.
So, but in the meantime, if the city wants to use some of the land to create another playing field, for example, there are places that are now being used for aviation use that have aircraft tie-downs that aren't fully utilized because there's not as many aircraft there.
Okay.
That land could be better used to put another playing field in there.
All right, Kathy, thank you. Good job, you never mentioned the other side. Now, can you do that?
I think I can.
Okay.
I hope so.
Let's go for it.
From our perspective, the one thing that really matters is the decision that puts redevelopment in play. Passing LC gives the city council full authority to close and redevelop the airport without voter approval. That is the key element. And it gives you some guidelines. What it allows voters to vote on is a phony vote. It's a vote on limits and guidelines. How's the loose working for people in this city? We want people to have the ultimate decision, which is whether or not we choose to give up the airport and redevelop the land.
Thank you, good job. All right, it's actually time for closing statements. And Kathy, you're going to handle the close for the proponents.
All right. According to the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica, quote, Measure LC prevents any commercial development of airport land without a vote of the people while allowing for parks, open space, and recreational usages. It also allows the city to take action to decrease noise and pollution, increase health and safety measures, and increase recreational park usage as the land becomes available. Major funding for no on LC is by the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, the AOPA, and the National Business Aviation Association, the NBAA. Who do you think has the best interest of Santa Monica in mind? Outside aviation special interests or our local organizations? The PTA and the League of Women Voters, or the AOPA and the NBAA? Remember, yes on LC means no development of airport land without voter approval except for parks, public spaces, and recreation facilities.
Thank you.
So, you ready?
I'm ready.
So LC contains 3 magic words: without voter approval. It's as simple as that. The difference between these 2 ballot initiatives couldn't be more clear. This is an unbelievably unique opportunity for the voters of Santa Monica to take total control over this property. We don't talk about development because we leave that to the voters. We don't talk about managing the airport because that's left to the city and the airport commission. Measure D is the way to go if you as a voter want ultimate control over the future of our amazing airport and its 227 acres of low-density land. It's as simple as that. Read the measure. LC was put together in direct response to Measure D. No signatures, written by politicians. We believe the voters should decide. On November 4th, please take this golden opportunity. Vote yes on D and no on LC.
Thank you, Christian. I'd like to thank our proponents and opponents for Ballot Measure LC for being here today. For more Santa Monica election programming, go to smvote.org or watch cable channel 99 for Vote 2014 election programming that is on 24 hours per day until Election Day. I'm Sandy Jacobson, and remember to get out and vote on November 4th. Thank you.